it's time now for the first panel discussion of the event SODACODE 2022. So, SODACODE 2022 is the first coding hackathon conducted by Soda Foundation. Let us now talk to a few of the participants who took part in this hackathon and get to know their experience. Here with me is Ashit Kumar, Software Development Manager at Amazon and also a project maintainer at the Soda Foundation. Ashit is going to be your moderator for today. Ashit, over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Anvit. It's really nice to be here at Soda Code. And the best part is that I'm going to have a very exciting and mixed panel over here. And it will be really a pleasure for me to talk to them and like listen from them that what's their opinion about like how they participated in this hackathon, what is their open source environment and all, how they are participating in this. So okay, from my experience, open source is something that I really love, and that has taken me from one place to another, growing in my career and my ambitions and all. So I'm always I love open source. I'll hear from the panel over here. So to start with, I'll just like to get some introduction. Maybe the members itself, they can introduce themselves and just tell us about them. So over to you, Teru San. So you can introduce yourself, what about yourself, or just brief intro about yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Teru Konagi. Currently working in Toyota from 2019. Past I worked in IBM, and then after that joined a UK-based startup company that is providing some enhancements to point of sale systems. That's my career. And I think I'm a kind of newbie for OSS because this is the first time to join the OSS project. That's all now. and, but I have some experience with OSS because I'm a kind of developer, so I use OSS products very much. Yeah,
Hey,
that's
thanks a
my
lot, and I definitely believe that your experience as well as your exposure to OSS will bring lots of energy and value to the open source community, and same for the Soda Foundation. Thanks a lot. Next, we
thanks.
have a very young engineer over here, Mr. Amartya Mahato. So over to Amartya. Just we like to know about yourself.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure. So, my name is Amartha Mahata, and currently I'm studying at Rungta College of Engineering and Technology in Chhattisgarh, Bhilai. So, my interest includes Android development and DevOps, and also like to do some open source contributions. So in on open source contributions, I contributed in SBK, that's storage benchmarking kit, and Linster, developed by Linbit. Yeah, that's all. And my hobbies includes photography and traveling, some cooking, etc.
Good, 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 and good to know. Like the Linbit has some wonderful projects, and
Yeah,
contributing to over there is really a pleasure for any engineer. And of course, you are working on the DevOps side. All the open source projects definitely needs lots of DevOps involved there. So it will be
yeah.
really nice the contributions coming from you. Okay, so the next on the panel is Miladri Halder. So he has been working in the industry for quite some time. So over to you, Niladri. You can just let us know about yourself.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Niladri. I work for DataCore in container attached storage, and I contribute to OpenEBS. So OpenEBS is, as you know, provides data on Kubernetes, and OpenEBS has been making storage work on Kubernetes for quite some time now. We have quite a bit of adopters. So yeah, happy to be here.
Great, great.
Thanks.
You are working on some of the niche technologies like Kubernetes containers, and of course the cache. Cache is something like very few vendors or very few players are there in the cache world. So CAS, so basically container storage, storage, attached to storage. Sorry. So thanks a lot, Miladri. And
Thanks,
the
Ashok.
next
Thanks,
on
guys.
the panel is another very young engineer student, Mr. Sushrut Nagraj, who has been one of the uh, hackers in the Soda Code. So over to you, Sushrut.
Hey everyone, I'm Sushrut Nagraj. I'm a pre-final year undergraduate student pursuing Bachelor of Engineering in Information Science from JSSATE College, Bengaluru. I like working with JVM languages like Java and Kotlin. And previously, I have developed native Android apps and web apps using Spring Boot. And I'm an open source enthusiast. I love being a part of the community. Thanks to Soda Foundation and Soda Code, due to which I got a chance to get involved in the projects, contribute to open source projects, and basically I learned a lot. And this is my first time speaking at an event, so I'm equally nervous and excited. And yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and nervousness is good for getting excited. It will give you more energy. Don't worry, we are over here to discuss, and definitely there are lot of more contributions will be coming from you. I'm damn sure. And Kotlin is something like I have been hearing around. Like all the engineers have been working on Kotlin. They say that okay, I work on Kotlin and all. So nice to because I don't know Kotlin. So we'll someday learn from you for sure. And the next on the panel is the uh, lady in our house, that is Nikita Pandey. So, Nikita, over to you.
Thanks, Ashit. So, hi everyone. This is Nikita Pandey, and I have close to a decade experience in IT. So, I have worked as a developer in different areas like tax and accounting at Thomson Reuters. Then worked in HL in embedded systems, and then I got exposed to cloud and open source projects like Firmament, CubeBatch, while I was working with Huawei as a part of PAS team. So post that I started working for fintech organizations, and I continued contributing towards open source projects like Kuma, Istio, Meshri, which are all mesh projects. And now I'm part of Soda Foundation. And thanks to Soda Code and team members for having me here.
Hey, awesome to have you over here. We are really privileged to uh, be to host you over here, and quite a lot of open source project that you have been working on. So, Nikita, it must be something like must have been lots of challenges and learnings coming your way. So, to start with, I'll start with you. So, can you just let us know that what are the challenges you faced when you started contributing? And of course, the challenges might have different stages, like when you are starting and when you have contributed. So, what can you just touch upon, like what are the challenges that you faced while contributing to open source?
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the challenge which any new contributors, I was also in same phase at some point of time, would be like, what should be my first contribution? This is the first question which comes in everyone's mind. So I would say like you don't need to overthink over that what exactly should be your first contribution. You should actually start thinking about the projects you already use or you want to use. So the projects you will actually or actively contribute to are the ones you find yourself coming back to. So this is one of the thing which I found when I started contributing. So
So, do you suggest, Nikita, that it should be like something from your interest, your to start with for any project? It is your interest and your technical capabilities that you want to enhance, and then from that project you can go ahead, right?
yes, yes. So
So,
this is similar to how we follow like anybody who is new to reading books. So they start with reading those books which really interest them. So that gives them a habit of doing that thing. So that is what I feel should be a good
Good,
start for
good.
any newbies.
Good, good. I completely echo with that because even when I started reading book, it was all about like easy fiction books that I started reading and then went into the non-fiction. And that is where how you like you get the interest in the open source and then you start contributing.
Right.
Thanks, Nikta. Next, Sushruth, I will go to you. You said that you have contributed in the Soda Code, you project in the hackathons and all, right? So, what was your learnings from that when you started contributing? I hope this is your first contribution that you made, right, in the open source world. So what were your learnings from there?
Yeah, so previously, actually, I had participated in Hacktoberfest and things, such open source events, but this is the first time where I actually contributed code. So when we talk about learning, I think it's both, including technical and non-technical things. So it started from approaching the conversational skills, just approaching the maintainer, writing documentation, opening issues, all those skills. I learned those skills to begin with, and when you start contributing to a project, you learn more about the various things that are used. Like when I contributed to the storage benchmark kit, so it deals with the performance benchmarking of various storage systems. So I got to learn about the various storage systems, message queues that are present. So it gives me an idea that, yeah, I can work with them later on in the future. And also, since this project was using Java, I got to learn about the object-oriented skills, programming in Java, and all those things. So it was overall a great experience, learning experience for me, including the technical and the non-technical aspects.
Hey, thanks, Sushruth. So you touched upon 2 points, like technical as well as non-technical challenges, right? I completely echo with what you said that non-technical challenges, because technical thing is something it is inside us that we can always grow and we can always groom ourselves. But non-technical things like whom to approach, how to join the channels, how to put my questions properly. So that becomes really a very tricky thing, and I hope that you must have learned that and you will be sharing that with your friends and in the community also.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And from the technical aspect, you said that you worked on those storage benchmarking and all in the Soda Code project, right? So was there any challenge? Like, I definitely understand that there will be some hardware challenges that you must be going. Was it something with you? And how did you
Yes.
overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so to begin with, the first step is setting up the development environment.
Mhm.
You have to bring the, so when we are using a hosting agency like GitHub, where you can host code, so you have to bring the remote repository to your local system. So setting up the environment, getting all the things ready. So that's the first step of contributing to open source. So to begin with, I faced a little challenge over there, and I'm sure Keshava Munigada sir is here with us, and he helped me a lot, in setting up the development environment, getting the ID configured to make those contributions. And yeah, so to begin with, I actually faced some issues, but with the help of the maintainer, I overcome those and I could contribute.
Good, good. And that's the beauty of open source. You'll get some maintainers, and if the open source community is active, the maintainers will always be there to help. And
Yes.
like I know that these maintainers are always like love to help each other so that the community
Yes.
grows. So thanks to
Yes.
all those maintainers too. Hey, thanks, Sushruth. So next, I'll go to one of the seasoned open source contributor. I will say, so Niladri. So you have been contributing to like this Open EVS projects and all, and Open EVS is definitely like one of the very recognized project in the industry for the containers and all, right?
Mhm.
Containers and Kubernetes world. If so, we have seen that what Nikita was telling, and even Sushruth's experience, the newbie experience that we had. Now,
Yep.
what from your contributions, what are your suggestions for making the open source contribution getting more community support? Definitely the maintainer aspect that Sushruth talked about, something that you want to bring in.
Sure. So when I started to work with OpenAPS, I had this opinion about software in general that they're all meant for an end user. But For a platform plugin like OpenEBS or something which sits in a layer deeper than the application layer, you're actually expecting adoption by someone like an SRE, right? And you don't expect somebody to. It's not an end user we're building for. So this this is something. This has been quite a revelation to me. And looking at what problems an SRE faces is quite different from what an end user might face. And then SRE's challenges revolve around certain keywords, right? Like reliability and transparency, and being able to reach out to a developer in case you hit a black box somewhere and you need somebody to help you out. I think those challenges, I think being able to understand those challenges while building have been the most difficult part of the open source journey. Uh, Apart from that, the technical aspect, yes, I must outline that coming out of college, I wasn't made familiar with that Kubernetes or Go or none of this, right? So that has definitely been a challenge. But yeah, you can follow a curriculum somewhere and get that get done, be done with it. But this part of it, I think, comes with interacting with the users and getting to know that hey, that guy wasn't actually facing the problem I thought he was facing. He actually had different issues that need solving. Right? So that has been a challenge. Being able to interact with the community is super important for open use adoption. I don't think one can do it without community adoption, without interacting with the community. Right? Yeah.
Niladri, one question. You talked about SRE, right?
Yep.
From the perspective of SRE, I know that in open source there are lots of SDs and all are there. So SREs, I have seen like most of the SREs are mostly confined to the like their product development and sitting in the background. Though they help a lot, but they never come in the foreground to tell that okay, this is what. But I think the responsibilities are too high on the SREs to make it durable, reliable, and all, right?
Exactly.
So from
Correct.
the
Yeah.
open source perspective, when you see this SREs and all, so are the role of SREs in the open source world and the SDs in the open source world, are they completely different, or is there a mixture like you communicate with the SDs and all? What do you suggest?
Okay. I think that there's a plane. There's an airplane going by. I'll just move for a second.
Sorry?
Just. I think there's a like an airplane going.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You might get a distortion. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
think about the airplane durability and reliability too.
Okay. So, that's correct. While in the recent DevOps way of things, development and responsibilities fall both on the plate of the DevOps person, the core product development team, and also an SRE to some extent, patching and release management. All these things are in reality quite a bit distributed and don't fall on a single person's plate. So, looking at it from that perspective, an SRE's core role is to keep things running. And you can understand when an SRE is not supposed to aim for the skies, right? He's supposed to keep things running. So an SRE's job is very difficult, in fact, and coming up with okay. So looking at say like some SREs in from my organization and all, coming up with a decent test suite which will cover all of the pitfalls of a standard use case is in itself a very big challenge because you'd hit bugs you'd never think about even after you've probably
Correct.
gone through several runs of integration tests.
And
Uh,
that definitely is a very good tip for even newcomers like Sushrut and all who are interested in the DevOps aspects and all, right? So that's a very good tip. Hey, thanks.
Testing is very big. People don't acknowledge it, but they'll acknowledge it.
Yeah, definitely. No, so now this SRE, DevOps, and AI ops and all, they are becoming really important. And same for the open source world. It will be really, really important. Definitely. Hey,
Yes,
thanks.
absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Niladri. So,
Thanks,
so,
Akshaya. Yeah.
so now we have heard from the challenges, like learnings and all, right? So over to you, Amartya. So question is that we see all these challenges, learnings and all. So why did you choose? Why did you join open source? and started contributing to the projects like Soda, Lens Store, and all. Like, what? Why did you join this? Maybe you can put your thoughts over.
Okay. For me, it was to gain some real world experience. And see, for a student to learn programming, uh, uh, programming as more, the second best option, first option could be program and implement by itself, and second could be like uh, to watch others and how they're sorting out their problems. And this hackathon is it was a great platform to combine both, so that's why I contributed. And these days, like, GitHub is like a business card for you. It is the most highlighted thing in your resume. So uh, which shows your skills and how motivate you are in open source contributions. See, your contribution don't have to be tip top perfect. Like the sole fact that you are contributing in a actively in a project is that matter most. uh, you don't have to, I mean, you don't, it doesn't matter you have to be commercially experienced or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Ashit, you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks, Nikita. So thanks, Amartya. It was really nice. So you talked about one thing is that putting all these your contributions on the GitHub is nowadays a trend, and I agree. Recently, I was interviewing one of the candidates, and they
Yeah.
said that I worked on the from one of the companies. They worked on the OpenStack stuff. I said that what did you work? He said that I have put it in my resume. You can just go and look into it. So then I will taken aback. Okay, okay, I'll just open the link and all. So I completely agree with your point. Now, and very good points that you have touched upon. Like even though if you don't have the experience and if you are new, you just have the zeal to start with in the open source. So everything will eventually come into place and will fall in place. So that's a very
Yeah.
good point that you have brought, Amartya. Thanks, Amartya. So now moving on to one of the very senior engineer and researcher. Uh, Over to you, Teru Osan. Uh, what is the value of open source you see for the developers? Maybe you can bring in whatever, like from the industry that you have worked on, some of the open source projects you might have used. So you can just let us know that what is the value you see from your experience and your contributions, whatever.
Yeah, I think the open source project is a very good way, method to create the valuable products.
Mhm.
So, in my experience, it's a very old story, but in IBM, my role was a kind of performance engineer for a proprietary product, and one some point we decided to replace the basement functionality with open source software. Yeah, that's really very a huge change, but it has a value to do so because we were not so small team. We have 30 people or more, but the product becoming getting larger and larger. So we don't pay much work for the fundamental functionalities. So some point the other uh, competitor OSS product become much very have better quality for our product. So we replaced it, and then by using the OSS product, we could start the enhancement of the value functionalities up for much near the application for the application requirements. So that we really wanted to do is such things. So in other words, OSS product enable us to do so. That's the value I
God.
saw in the product.
Got it. And you talked about this performance collection and performance related projects and all. And I remember some from one of my experience is that what I learned is that these type of projects when you're working, collecting the performance from the devices and all, the more contributions you get, it will be enhanced. Now, getting the data out of that, getting the value out of those performance data collected and all, will definitely be the propriety for the companies. But how to collect the performance, how to make it faster with least latency and with least overload on the server or the storage, whatever you are using. That is definitely like when you work with the community, you will get more help over there. That is what my personal experience from the projects is. I hope
Yes,
you
yes,
agree with
yes.
the
Yeah,
same, right? So that is how the open source can
yeah.
bring the value to the world, to the industry, right? Right.
Yeah, I experienced a very similar thing because my responsibility for that change project is measuring the performance and find the problems and bottlenecks of that newly created software. And we found some problems, and our developers solved them. And also, we have some committers for that open source project. So maybe I guess that solutions are feedback to that OSS product. Yeah.
Agree. And similar projects even Soda Foundation has, and they will also try to follow something similar, right? So thanks, Terius. And uh,
Thanks.
maybe I'll go again to the table and we'll ask Nikita. Nikita, so now, what are your suggestions for anyone who wants to contribute as well as for the community? See, you talked about the challenges, right? So any one suggestion, if I ask you that, what do you give to the, like, you have seen like Sushruth and Amartya are very new, and even the community, for the community maintainers and all, there may be something like you must have some suggestions for them. Feel free, like it can be for the community also.
Okay, sure. Like for new contributors, like what I observed is whenever any new contributors find bugs or issues in the documentation, let's say they get started with README documentation, and if they figure out there are issues, not just stop there by raising an issue. If you know like what are the possible solution, start discussing over the community channel, and think like you have to contribute back to the community since you are a user of that project. So we have to think in that way, like find places where you can bring in value. So that is what I feel is the key for these open source projects.
Completely agree, Nikita. And for that sense, one very good point I can tell you about you, Nikita, is that I have been part of some of the design meetings and the community meetings, and all. You have been participating over there. You have been contributing the Soda Foundation meetings that I'm talking about. And it is always good to see the community coming in, pitching in with their experiences, even a small documentation change that you were talking, right? If that documentation change makes a value, right, the README can make can bring lots of value to the newcomers and all. And if you are doing that change, that will be definitely an asset for that particular project, right? So I
Yeah,
completely agree with you, Nikita. Thanks a
yeah,
lot for you.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, moving back to Sushruth, and Sushruth, if you contributed to any open source project, I think Soda Foundation projects you have contributed, and earlier also you contributed to some of the projects, right? So so which project you talked about this storage project that you contributed to, right?
Yes, storage benchmarking.
Yeah. So I think when you are coming from the college, you don't have a background on the storage and all. I'm sure that in colleges, in the lab, you won't get that storage and all. So why did you choose this particular project when you started contributing?
Yeah. So my interests include in the databases, networking. So when I got to know about the storage benchmark kit, so it was also built using Java and Gradle. So
Mhm.
previously, when I had worked with native Android apps, I had some experience working with Gradle and Java. So that's why I thought maybe I can contribute to this project. And since I also had some interest in storage systems and distributed systems, I thought maybe I can try. And my first contribution was actually a version change to the MySQL database. So I just bumped the version to the recent version. And after that, I just asked if I can add this new feature for a driver for a H2 database. So I asked the maintainer if I can do that, and he agreed. So after several discussions, I got the chance to write a driver. So a driver is basically it performs the I/O operations. So it reads the data from the storage system and it writes the data to the back to the storage system, and it measures the latency and it gives the performance benchmarking. So that's how I contributed to the project with the help of the maintainer. So so what I usually do is like Nikita was telling, basically you just look at open source projects which you use daily and which interests you, which align with your interest, and maybe also based on languages, programming languages which you're familiar with. Like most of the Soda Foundation projects are with Go programming language. So if you have some experience with that, you can contribute to that project. And yeah, so there are a lot of open source projects, maybe Firefox or a VLC media player, which are open source. The code is on the GitHub. You can go explore, maybe pick some beginner issues. So that's how I started. And yeah, that's how I contributed to
Good, good, good.
SBK.
And Soda Foundation has projects in Go, Python, Java, some TypeScripts and all. So you can
Yeah,
feel free to contribute in any of your area of expertise. And as you said, and even Nikita had said earlier that you just need to find out a place to start with. You don't need to get a training, whole set of training to contribute into open source. It's just that you find a place with your expertise, with your interest, and you can start, and things will
yes,
fall in place.
yes,
Hey,
definitely.
thanks, Sushruth. Thanks. That was really nice points that you made.
Thank you.
Over to you, Niladri. What was your experience and initial challenges when you? So I'm talking about the specific project, container attached storage that you worked on, right? So what were your initial challenges and what was your experience over there?
Okay, so yeah, that's a big one actually. So when you say the project, I've primarily worked on this dynamic local PV provisioner project, right?
Okay, okay, okay.
So I most of my contributions have gone there, and the first initial challenge was that right out of college, right, I joined my data, and I have no idea how a distributed who consumes a distributed system, right? Like how is a distributed system supposed to behave? Why do you even need distributed storage? Why is it that on? So these questions, it took a long time to find answers to them. Then there was Go. So you have to give the Google team credit on this. So Go is monumentally easy to pick up and get started quickly and just deliver, right? Go is amazing, and the Go was the easier part of the challenge, I think. Understanding Kubernetes internals and going through an entire SRE's workflow and what he has to do, especially when you don't see a real live SRE in front of you, right? You have to simulate an SRE behavior. I think that was the challenge in all of it. And eventually, piecing all of these things together, there was a time when the documentation was not so clearly laid out, right? And you had to, I have to give credit to like OpenAB's team. They were an amazing bunch of people. They still are. They are, you know, uh, doing good to people wherever they are. So
Yeah,
I
I
have to say,
completely agree. Open
yeah,
EVS folks are really great. They are very techy. They are very helpful and all.
yeah, so I'll just point out that number one, the open source community, if you are like looking at it with a keen eye, they will guide you towards a direction. You will see the problems pop up. You will get a smell of the direction that you need to go to fix the problem. And number two, I would say my team. I can't really simulate that. I can help you simulate that. I would say reach out to other people who are who have been doing what you want to do for a longer time. I think that I would say, yeah, the team and the open source community, they have been the key parts. The curriculum you can follow, you can learn Go, you can learn Docker, you can learn Kubernetes, you can do all of that. I think,
Hey,
yeah,
thanks, Niladri. I think Anvit is all after us. He's pinging. So
yeah.
maybe I'll quickly go to Teru San and just ask him, like, it may be a closing note from him, that what is your suggestions and how the community can improve and grow. Any suggestions from a experienced engineer like you?
Yeah, good question. I think community. I need I think it need some culture to create a valuable product to grow. Uh, so maybe to create a better product, it might be important to have a good concept, but also need to have many voices from the users. Yeah,
Agree,
I
agree.
mean there's some requests to to the product. So I believe the community should be the place to connect the technology peoples to the users. That
Got it. Got it.
that
Hey,
may be
thanks.
the yeah a
Teru,
good thing.
I completely agree. So, from my point of view, in one line, it is something like from the end user to the community to the like developers and all. Community can be like the maintainers and the like interface for the end users. They can bring in those requirements. They can give it to the engineers, and we all together work for a better community and better software that we develop. So thanks a lot. I think we are running out of time. I would have really loved to uh, discuss more with Amartya and all, but we are running out of time. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was really nice talking to you. And I hope the community might have, the Soda Fund, whoever is joining this Soda Code, might have loved this discussion. So, and with you, is there anything like for the question and answer, or should we wrap it up?
Uh, I am really sorry, but
Yeah,
we are really, really short of time at this
I
moment.
agree. Okay, thanks.
There is a question, and I think you've pretty much covered all of that in your panel discussion. The question was, some people come and join and leave. What are the suggestions to sustain and grow? So I think overall, across the entire discussion, you covered these points. But thank you so much, Ashit, for moderating this panel. Thank you, Amartya, Terosan, Nikita, Niladri, and Sushruth. It was great to have you here. We will now move on to the next session. Until then, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks a lot, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Thanks.
everyone. Thanks.
Bye.